This video will show you how to remove the stock suspension on all 2021 and newer Ford Broncos.
So to remove your factory strut in the front, there's an easy and a hard way to do it. The hard way requires disconnecting pretty much everything to remove the whole knuckle. Now, since we're lifting the car and we're gonna need an alignment anyway, I'm gonna drop the lower control arm from the pivot points, and then that way we can slide our strut out. So first we're gonna remove our sway bar end link. We've got a 21mm nut that we'll get a 21mm ratcheting wrench on, and then an Allen stud that we can get a 6mm Allen socket on to hold our stud. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. Now once you have your end links unbolted from both sides, you can take a pry bar to lift up on your sway bar to pull that out of the lower control arm. Next we can remove our sway bar. We've got two 18mm nuts and two 18mm bolts. I've got a buddy on the other side supporting the weight of the sway bar while we remove it. So I've got an 18mm socket to pop these out. Next, we can take an 18mm socket to remove our two lower strut nuts. So now we're ready to unbolt the two bolts holding in our lower control arm. Now we have these alignment plates here. So I'm gonna take a Sharpie and just make a mark so that we can line this up after we get everything put back together. Now this isn't gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be good enough to get you to the alignment shop. So I'm just gonna follow the center mark. And then you'll do the same thing on the other side of both of these. So now we can remove our bolts. We're gonna be using a 21mm wrench on the bolt side and a 24mm socket on the nut side. Now I've got a couple pole jacks here to raise up our lower control arm so that we can get our bolts out. If you're doing this on the ground, you can use a jack. And then we can remove our pole jacks and wiggle this down out of the way. Next we can go up top and take a 15mm ratcheting wrench to remove our three upper strut nuts. And now with all those nuts removed, we can slide the strut downwards and out of place. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. Now moving on to the rear, we need to remove our strut. So the first thing I'm going to do is support the axle with a couple of pole jacks, and then we can work on our lower strut bolt. Now once you have your axle supported by a pole jack or a jack stand, you can take a 27mm socket and 30mm wrench to remove this bolt. And then now we can just manipulate our pole jack to to where we can get this bolt out. Now if you're having a little trouble getting this out, you can tap it with a hammer a couple times. Now on the other side, you can get that wrench around the flange on the bolt and tap that with a hammer. Next, we're going to remove the 3 nuts at the top of our strut. However, to be able to get access to those, we're going to have to remove these 2 clips. So you're going to grab a flathead screwdriver, you're going to hold the outer edge here to prevent it from spinning, and then you can unscrew that inner part. You don't want to put any pressure on the screwdriver because you can push that inner part back in. And then we'll just pop that out, and then do the same thing for the other one. So now we have enough access to pull back on our fender liner to be able to get to our nuts. So we'll take a 15mm ratcheting wrench to remove them. And now with all those removed, we can slide our strut out of the way, and we'll do that same thing on the other side. Now, if you're planning on running bigger tires with this lift kit, it is recommended that you remove the 2 crash bars in the front. They both have 2 15mm bolts, so you can take a 15mm ratcheting wrench to remove. So now we'll take that 15mm ratcheting wrench and remove our 2 bolts. And then with those bolts removed, we can slide this out of the way. And now we can do the same thing for the 2 bolts on our front crash bar. And now before we pull this out, we are going to have to loosen up the bolts on our front bumper to be able to slide that forward to pull this out. So now at our front bumper, we can pull back this plastic cover. And then fold that down to reveal our 3 bolts that we're going to loosen up. So we'll take a 15mm socket to loosen them up. And now with these bolts loosened, we can go back to our crash bar and pull it out. So now we can pull forward on our bumper, slide our crash bar out, and now we can go back and tighten down our 3 bolts and reinstall our plastic cover. Now for this side, just make sure you don't pinch your parking sensor wire. And then we can raise this back up into place and push our clips in. And then you can repeat that whole process on the other side.
Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Bronco, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.